Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co's Daily Brief. Dun, dun, dun. Actually, kind of a fun day here at TRI. Hey, look at that. We're live. Bang. Looks like YouTube page is working. That's good to see. Kind of a fun day today. It's Friday, so end of a long week. If I'm not mistaken, fun day today. Yeah, totally. Hey, there's Thomas over there. You're everywhere, dude. Actually, I posted it in the lounge, and I don't know whether I can find it really quickly, but I found the absolute perfect Thomas GIF this morning. Did you see that GIF that I posted about being smacked in the face with a salmon?
Yeah, that was awesome.
When I saw that, I totally thought of you. I was like, oh, that is so Thomas. So I had to save that one. But anyway, good morning, everybody. And as you can hear, hey, there he is. Hey, Jeremy, you posted it again. Thanks, dude. Another exciting day at TRI, and I absolutely love these daily briefs. I love interacting with Thomas. It's just such a joy. All our veterans. I saw Kevin Kavarkanator just super active in the lounge this morning when I woke up. I mean, I just love that. It's so awesome. I got to give a big shout out to Julian. He's fucking just knocking the cover off the ball here with this upcoming level 1 program. I've been a little bitchy with the TRI team of late because I'm a little impatient with this new website coming along, but got to hand it to Julian. He's really managing this whole thing really well. So very impressed. Sjord's rocking it. The two of them just total whirlwind. And the funny thing is you guys don't see this on the front end. But these guys are really, really working really hard. So, I want to start off today just with a big thank you to Julian. PMA, you just keep on being the best Julian you possibly can be and just put up with the old man. Pants off. That's right. Hats off and pants off. I like the sound of that. I saw, and I was really pleased today. I don't know whether any of you recognize James, but he was our TA for the last level 1 school term. So all the level 1ers should be familiar with him, but he just sent me a note. Adam actually sent me a note. He's from Nashville, I think, saying that James paid him a visit and they had a nice meetup, which I absolutely love because these two people would have never interacted had it not been for TRI. And of course, in a weird sort of way, they have a common denominator in that Joby was from Nashville. He used to be a big Predators fan, and always busting my chops about crappy Vancouver Canucks. But anyway, so Adam actually got to know Joby, so it's sort of weird how we can kind of play the Kevin Bacon game. What's your connection to each other through Joby? But God rest your soul, Joby. I think about you every day. Getting a little bit clamped. I got to do that line every time I can feel the emotions building up. But it was great to see this kind of camaraderie amongst the TRI people. And it just goes to show, that whole sort of 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thing. So I got that message this morning, actually, when I was just loading up the daily brief today. And I was like, fucking A, man, that's awesome. I saw earlier today, and I don't know whether it was disseminated on the site or not. I know that Thomas is a really big fan. Mike as well. We haven't seen Mike in the daily briefs too much of late, but really big fan of these Macro Voices guys. And they had on the Euro Bull US dollar bear, Julia de Klerk. Thomas might even make reference to this later on when we talk to him. They did an interview. As Thomas had sort of pointed out, it's very thick. I mean, you want to do economics. This is probably like economics 202 or 303. It's pretty thick, but nonetheless, I thought it was a very good interview. I listened to probably about half of it so far. And she makes an interesting case. I mean, I would make the case that we're very much in a very similar time period to back in the late 1970s, early 1980s. Here, actually, before we get into that, we just keep on. We've been watching this Euro very closely, and she did about a good hour or so interview. So I think I posted in this lounge. I'll post it again just in case anybody needs it. It's really interesting interview. If you're not an economics professor or, an economics grad, try and take what she has to say with a grain of salt. try and absorb as much as you can. But the long and short of it, very interesting conversation. And I get the impression that we're in, they used one expression very well, I thought, and that is that we're in sort of an environment of stagflation. So, we've had sort of this, kind of malaise growth as, crude oil has been sort of testifying. And of course, Grim has been long the crude on his bot setup since February. Commodity prices have been slowly inching their way higher. Yet at the same time, economic activity is kind of weak. Very stagflationary kind of environment. And the question ultimately is, why is the Fed so gung-ho on cranking interest rates up? And I get the impression, especially with the political leaders out of the United States, that they kind of want to undo a lot of this sort of globalization, all of these international countries just riding on the coattails of the United States. They want to try and undo as much of this as possible, given their short period of time in power. We might even find that Mr. Trump's days as a majority leader might even be numbered, but we'll see what happens in November. With her comments and then looking at the price charts, I think I can understand what's going on here. I think for the time being, the rally in the US dollar, as she sort of pointed out, is nothing more than just a technical dead cat bounce. If we rally into this 38.2 and then consolidate, you can see the potential inverted head and shoulders here, which probably should take us up into reload zones. And at that point, that's if we're thinking about being a dollar bear, that's when we really should be thinking about hitting this thing hard. Right now, I think we're sort of caught in no man's land. They're still trying to clean this market up. And then conversely, if we look at the euro, exact opposite scenario, that was a pretty big run. At the very least, there is the 38.2 off of that big run, and this smaller range, this is the reload zone. And we've been talking about this gap that needed filling for quite some time, and you can see 38.2, line in the sand, gap. Not too shocking that the price has come back down into here. And an interesting sort of side to all this. And, if the 38.2, this turns out to be a head and shoulders top and we have to come back down, everybody should be able to see that, gee whiz, we got this big old gap sitting down here right around the line in the sand. And what I found really interesting is that, and this is something I don't think a lot of people are really taking into account in the marketplace, is Europe is suffering from a period of really underperformance, undergrowth. Now, what's the one easy way to inject some inflation into the European marketplace? Well, just have their currency come off. How? Why? Well, if the euro falls and it collapses, then the Airbus jets all of a sudden get much better, more competitively priced versus the American Boeing jet. Remember, and it was interesting how Thomas was talking a little bit about Boeing looking maybe a little vulnerable there. Well, in a weird sort of way, I can kind of see the scenario. I don't think it's a good idea to think about shorting the euro now. We're coming into support. I wouldn't be surprised, the fact that a lot of people in the marketplace are talking about the US dollar rallying. She's got a little bit of egg on her face. We're coming into some key technical levels. I wouldn't be surprised. And you can see there's divergence building. Willie is technically stupid. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some back and forth. I just don't know, honestly, for me, whether I can realistically see this push up into these levels that she's asking for. I don't know. That's a tough one. I still think if I was going, especially given, the Fed sort of bent to raise interest rates, if I was going to be a betting man, I would bet on the head and shoulders thesis and coming down and filling in this gap before we see the push higher. But only time will tell. Okay, so I wanted to make reference to that interview. I think it's worth our time listening. I think, that Macro Voices guy is pretty damn smart, and I think that's worth paying attention to anyway. Wanted to make reference to James and Adam. I thought that was really cool. Got a bunch of interesting messages from people. I think Kane here is suggesting if you want to listen to Depeche Mode, Axel, I don't know, you probably have this album, but he's saying the best Depeche Mode if you ever want to listen. So thank you, Kane. Totally appreciate that. If people were listening to the Daily Brief yesterday, so I'm going to dump that into the lounge. If you want to listen to Depeche Mode, there you go. Merry Christmas. So thank you, Kane. Totally appreciate that. Let's see. I think Gary here had mentioned, people are asking when's the level 2 going to start. I'm going to take a bit of a break over the summer. In fact, we've sort of made tentative plans that I'm going to pop on over to Europe for a bit. So the guys over in Europe are actually asking me, when are you planning on coming? And, you got a place on my couch if you want to sleep. So thank you very much, Jacob. I appreciate that. So I'm probably not going to get the level 2 going here until probably the fall, the next level 2 program. So there's no mad rush, Gary. Take your time, go slowly. And anybody who did sign up for the level 2, the next, they just did the level 1, they want to move on to level 2, we're basically just going to give you free site access until that program gets started. So it's a nice little added treat for you. And I wanted to mention, like I said, right up at the top of the broadcast here, been a little bitchy with the TRI team because of the, waiting for the website. And oh my God, now we got a new school term coming. And is Brian going to get a vacation? Blah, 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 blah. So I just wanted to give a big shout out. Julian and Stuart are just rocking this thing. And actually the platform and the way that the school is set up is a huge improvement over last term. It's very, very smooth. So again, big shout out to Stuart and Julian. They're just knocking the cover off the ball. So way to go, guys. Just keep on keeping on. I wanted to mention that yesterday's broadcast, we had said, actually earlier in the week, I had said Bugra has just been doing such a great job with his indicator that I wanted to invite him on to the Daily Brief and just give him the opportunity to give a nice presentation to the group of his indicator. And he also has another gentleman, Randall, that I think the two of them work together. And so they're both here today, and probably for the let's say maybe even the top of the hour, or say maybe 5-10 minutes to the top of the hour, we're going to open up the floor for them to give us a nice presentation on their indicator. So if you are interested in Bugra's Megalodon, keep an eye out for that at the end of today's broadcast. Last thing I wanted to mention, Gutan, I don't know if I'm butchering your name. Sorry if I am, sir or ma'am. I have been doing some buying on the Trex account, and I popped on over. I didn't even realize it, but this API is not picking up the trades. So thank you very much for that reminder. And Sjord, you and I got to go figure out why the fuck Trex is not reporting those trades. But thank you very much for the heads up, or I wouldn't have seen that. So thank you, Gutan. Okay, so, oh boy, that was a mouthful, and I'm sorry. That took about 10-15 minutes. But I think Brian's done his rants. So, Mr. Bear, are you in the house today?
I'm here.
All right, awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Mr. Bear actually has a really special treat that he's thinking about bringing. I'm not going to tell you about it, but it's something that I think all of you will be very, very pleased with. So I'm just going to tease you with that. But anyway, what do you feel like? Where should we go first here today, sir?
Well, I think you covered the Macro Voices podcast and with Julia DeClercq, and I don't know how much I want to talk about that because I mean, as we mentioned, it's thick. I mean, you consider it Econ 202 or 303, and I took those in college, and I'd consider this podcast more like a PhD or graduate level class. So,
all right, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly not what is supply, what is demand. I mean, we are going pretty deep here. If anything, what I would suggest all of you do is just, block off an evening or something and just listen, right? And if you have questions, write the questions down and we can review as a group and try and help you understand. Yeah, and some of the concepts are even pretty thick for me too. So if anything, it's great. This 1 + 1 = 3. Let's work together as a team. Anybody, my sort of special assignment for you is let's listen to her. She did a really nice chart deck. And then let's collectively talk about this stuff. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone is interested in the broader economic picture of this, she introduces a lot of concepts that I think most of the people in this sector are missing, unless you're either running a great research firm like she is, or even in a central bank. And I'd even argue that the central banks don't even understand as much as she does. And my plan going forward to digest her podcast even more is to just sit down, and anything that I don't understand, I'm just going to research the crap out of it. And it's probably going to take me forever. But she's got a really nice slide deck. Yeah. And the only thing that I want to point out from what she spoke about is the Treasury 10-year yield at 3.05, and a breakout above that happened during her interview. So she didn't really get to talk about that, but it tied really well into how she saw the dollar and how that affects pretty much the entire global cash flow here. And I guess the real key takeaway from her interview is that she essentially sees two potential scenarios. And the first scenario is in a world where the US wants to have recession, and then the other is where we don't want recession. We want to continue going into a growth-like environment. And right now, in order to see recession, what we need to see is kind of tightening of policy to kind of make the environment less hospitable to growth. And in doing so, you raise rates, right? You make it more expensive, more difficult to borrow lots of money because of the rate of interest. Well, the ECB and the Bank of Japan, they've had the opportunity to raise rates over the last year. And the last meeting by the ECB, they decided not to raise rates. So the ECB realizes,
I think Japan and Europe have absolutely no interest whatsoever in stopping this train.
And you know the reason for that.
Well, demographics and
they just don't want their economy to nosedive.
Exactly.
It's already bad.
And this is why Trump hates this so much, is that in essence, all of the world uses the U.S. economy as sort of its export engine. Yeah. And I think the Americans have had enough. And they're like, fuck off, go away.
And the other point that, she didn't make this point, but I think she should have, because Eric Townsend, the host, made this point. And that was that we tried the same approach that the Europeans and the Japanese tried when we tried this a couple months ago before the dollar took off, which was, we're going to make the dollar weak so that we can kind of make it more attractive for people to buy our products, for us to export them, and provide more reason for people to come into the dollar. According to her charts, that didn't happen. There wasn't that much interest in coming into our economy, buying our products. And that's not good, right? That was the whole reason. And now we're seeing the dollar take off. And another part of our argument is that this isn't real.
I would make the argument that, they knocked the US dollar down, but the end result was what they didn't want, right? They knocked the US dollar down, which should be inflationary for the US economy, and it was. And we've lived in a long period where there just is no inflation, right? Because of demographics and all that stuff. We're at the end of that demographic cycle. So those kind of policies of just, injecting cash into the system to get growth going, it's translating into inflation now. And that sort of brings us, and I think the key and what I put in the lounge was, the question ultimately here is, I think we're in an environment called stagflation, where countries are going to try and do the QE and throw bags of money at the market. It's not going to translate into more economic activity, but it will translate into more inflation.
Yeah, and there were a couple other key points about what you're mentioning, and the most important, I think, is the amount of credit that Americans are using has just breached over $1 trillion. So we're the most indebted we've ever been in history, just as single consumers, just as individuals, right? We have $1 trillion worth of credit card debt collectively in the United States. And she had one chart that showed the amount of loans.
I don't know where that chart deck is. I had that chart deck up here. You even gave me the link. Can you post the link for that chart deck again in the lounge? I had the chart deck up here, and I was like, you're right. Those are totally awesome charts, but I don't know what the hell I did with the damn link. They are really, really good charts. And if anything, it's kind of funny because it's this sort of ties into it. I'm tweeting all about, because here I am up in Canada, right? And in Canada, like, this is a perfect analogy of what the fuck's going on. In Canada, the federal government is like, well, we want the pipeline to go through in the States, right? And we want from Alberta to get the oil out to international. It's going to help our economy, right? And the local populace here in BC said, no, we do not want these pipelines. And they basically voted. This is the same thing as Brexit. And what's ending up happening now is that the federal politicians now are saying to the companies, oh, we're just going to wait out until this current government in BC is gone. And that just like the Brexit bullshit, we're not going to listen to the public that said, no, we don't want these pipelines. And a further insult to injury, now this leader here in Canada has said, we are going to financially compensate the companies that were going to build the pipeline until the pipeline gets built, or basically just hand them a blank fucking check. And I'm going here, excuse me, don't you realize you don't have the money to cut these checks? In fact, you're running massive deficits. So it's like, it's this environment of just racking up more and more and more debt. It's like institutionalized in our society. It just makes me sick to my stomach. Sorry, you got me all riled up there.
Right. If everyone else could see what you were upset about, maybe they wouldn't do it, and we wouldn't be in this position in the first place. But unfortunately, that's kind of how our economy is predicated.
It's like money doesn't mean anything to these politicians anymore.
Well, of course not. Anything, they get it out of thin air.
I think that what's ended, I think that Justin here in Canada is a classic sort of this new age economy. Money doesn't mean anything. And we can just print up money, all the money we ever need. And what I said in this tweet was, it shouldn't surprise these idiot politicians that people are moving to fiat, or moving out of fiat, beg your pardon, and moving into crypto. Because we, as the populace, have had enough of this nonsense. And we're just, this is a dangerous situation for them, because we're just giving up on their stupid fiat system because it's a joke. Anyway, wow, Brian got all riled up there. Sorry, guys. Let's get back to the topic. What are you showing? Oh, you've got the chart deck up here. Okay, cool. So I've clicked on Thomas's screen. So tell us maybe a message. And didn't we start this off by going, well, we won't talk too much about this today.
Yeah, I just want to show chart 7. This is, I think, the most important point that I want to drive home before we move on to crypto, in that consumer demand and consumer credit card loans are inverting, and then consumer demand for loans is going down. So why would people need less? Why would they be demanding less loans? And why are credit card standards tightening? Well, again, the answer is that we're $1 trillion in credit card debt as individuals here. And I would just assume, I'm not really sure how she's getting this consumer demand for loans, but I think that most people just had such super high credit limits that, they're just not getting these loans anymore because they're maxed out. Their credit card scores are terrible, probably in the midst of declaring bankruptcy. And when you have something like this happening in a country where everyone is using all of their available credit, and then the credit card companies start coming in and they either take away and start tightening your credit limits, or they start saying, all right, you know what, we're just going to dump you as a customer. You just got to start paying this off, and you don't have access to your credit card anymore. That starts to hit the economy. And granted, it's a lagging phase that takes.
That's exactly what killed the housing market in 2007.
Well, we got it. Exactly.
Borrowed against their houses. And what was really bad about that environment was that these were very short-term mortgages, like 2 or 3 or 4 years. So they went back and refinanced, and the bank just said, fuck you, we're not lending you any money. So what do? You're screwed, right? So in a weird sort of way, that was the housing market unwinding. Now we're probably going to have this whole sort of credit card nightmare unwind. And oh, by the way, for the past 20 years, we've lived in an environment, actually really 30, 35 years, of falling interest rates. We just talked about stagflation and our worry about inflation and all that, and interest rates actually rising now. What happens to all those credit card debts if interest rate payments actually start like doubling and tripling?
Terrible.
So anyway, you know what the simple message is? Buy Bitcoin.
It's true, but this has already happened. The credit card companies are gradually starting to raise interest rates. The baseline interest rate for a credit card has gone up 2% on average over the last 3 months.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just starting. So anyone that has credit card debt, you better start
Pay it
paying it
off.
off.
Just get it out. Get that shit out of there. And none of us at TRI should be swimming in a world of debt. Please, guys, because that's what killed. And it's funny, us in Canada here. Dane, go do some research about the Vancouver real estate market when the Americans, the Paul Volcker's war on inflation in the late 70s, early 80s, and it just destroyed the Vancouver real estate market. Just is staggering. Prices just collapsed, right, and didn't recover for like 5-6 years. So it's so funny, the old adage, right? If you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. You can see a lot of things repeating here. It's a little sad, really, but oh well. What can you do?
Yeah.
Okay, so enough.
One more thing, Brian. One last thing, and that's
all right. No, not enough. One more. All right, hit it. Hit me.
The VIX. So we've been up in arms. I was up in arms about the VIX and that popping off and the catastrophe that it caused in the global or in the broader marketplace. She has a nice chart here of ACM, which is in green, and I don't know what that stands for. But she just alludes to it as ACM, and I've tried Googling what this means, and I can't find anything about it. But I would assume that it's something along the lines of the 2-year treasury yield. And what they do is they take an aggregate of that 2-year and put it against the real versus the expected. And here you can see that this is graphed against the VIX. And the last time this indicator popped up in green, the VIX began popping up. And here you can see.
The proof of the pudding's in the eating, right? Let's go just see, what does a 2-year bond chart look like?
Yeah.
Anybody know what the symbol is offhand? I think it's like TW or something, right? 2-year. All to 10 years, 20 years, where those 2-year note futures. There we are, TU. So this should look exact opposite to what your chart looks like. Holy Jesus H Christ. That's what it looks like? Oh boy, that's not good.
So it must be an inverted chart.
Yeah, well, she's probably looking at yield, right? That's probably her ACM is like yield, and this is price. And price, of course, all of us are bond experts on the site, right? Bond prices and yields moving opposite. So clearly, short-term interest rates are moving up dramatically here.
Meow.
Wrong screen. Sorry. There you go. Thank you, sir. I love that. Meow. That's so cool. Thank you, Shane. So you can see 2-year yields are rising. Bond prices are falling. We probably have like a 2-year note yield. I'll pull up my bond matrix chart later on. So yeah, and really, I suppose the question ultimately, in fact, maybe we since today is sort of a broader market, and everybody's probably going, well, we're going to talk about crypto, man. Jesus H Christ, what the fuck? I thought this was a crypto site. Whoa, look at my charts going all funny. Oh, what are you looking at? Genesis Global Trading granted Bitcoin license. Oh, there you go. So he's already getting ready to talk about Bitcoin. Okay, so let's just finish this off. I always like to take a quick view at the interest rate market and the yield curves. So we were worried about yield curve inversion, so I think that's okay now. Here, meow. I know. Thank you, Shane. I meowed myself. This is probably the one that I'm most worried about is if, we have sort of a two-fold scenario. Either the Fed cranks interest rates up, which generates an inversion in the yield curve, and we get recession. Or the Fed is lax and the market cranks short-term interest rates up for corporations, and the TED spread breaks 1.0, and we go into financial crisis. So it's almost like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. So as it stands right now, yield curve inversion, you got 2-year yields lower than longer yields, but the guys on the I've been tweeting out quite a bit. Even the Fed governors themselves said their absolute #1 job is to make sure that the yield curve does not invert. You can see the bonds are catching a bit here this morning, though. So we'll see how that goes. And do we have to worry about financial crisis right now? No, I don't think so. So I don't think there's anything to worry about today, but let's keep an eye on this over time. And when this does invert in earnest, then we know we've got a nice 6-month window and we got to start preparing. So, okay, let's maybe leave the macro picture. Thank you very much, Thomas, for both, and also Mike. He's a really big fan of the macro voice. Anybody else on the site, thank you very much for the great work you guys are doing, bringing us that information. Let's pop on over to crypto now. And what are you seeing happening over here in this crypto space, Thomas?
Well, I'll start us off with our fundamental drivers here. First one happened yesterday, where Genesis Global Trading was granted the 5th only BIT license in New York State. And they are a company that caters primarily to large trades made by institutional investors and accredited investors. So that's the block trading that we were looking at, where they offer this OTC trading, and they don't move the market by placing orders on an open exchange like Coinbase or Bitfinex or whatever. And because they have this BIT license, they can probably offer protection through insurance. Well, not because of the BIT license, but because the company is now licensed, they probably have products that insure any kind of holdings that they have, just kind of similar to what Coinbase has. So this is cool news, and it's nice that New York is getting in on this and giving the access to their institutional investors. But it just goes to show that the demand here for institutional access is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, with JP Morgan, as we saw yesterday, and Goldman Sachs both wanting to open up trading desks, or even, as JP Morgan alluded to, they want to start strategizing a financial roadmap for how they're going to go forward with getting their money into the space, and how they can stay relevant in a space that is essentially created to eliminate them in the first place. So I like this news event. There's one more piece of news that I want to cover before we get into the charts, and that is something out of Bitfinex yesterday. Let me grab this link here. Bitfinex wants to start sharing customer tax data with certain authorities, and I forget which country it is. It might have been someone in the Caymans, or some place that will be sharing. Oh, it's the British Virgin Islands. So they want to be in compliance with British Virgin Island law. And the problem with that is that the British Virgin Islands, I believe, have a what do we call it? Kind of they have to disclose this information to the U.S. government. So anyone that's been trading on Bitfinex and you're U.S. based and you got this notice from Bitfinex, you might want to think about how you're going to be handling your tax situation if you didn't do it properly, or just remove all your coins and stop trading there, is what people were suggesting yesterday. Now, not everyone got this email. It's only directed at a certain portion of their users. I don't think that they have any kind of criteria that was publicly released for who is targeted for this kind of information. Dav, I don't think you trade on Finex, but I'd be curious to know if anyone else got this email from Finex, and whether or not you're going to be providing, KYC or AML information or any other self-certification or self-reporting to them if you are a Finex trader. So that's certainly something you want to pay attention to here.
Didn't Finex recently move there or something like that?
Finex is supposed to be, I don't know where they moved to. I can't keep track of this. I know OKCoin's in Malta, Binance is in Malta. Finex was supposed to be like Hong Kong based, then they moved. I still feel like they have an Asian presence. I'm not sure where they are, but either way, people were like, all right, time to boycott Bitfinex, and a whole bunch of people are saying they're going to take their trading elsewhere in protest of this.
Well, ultimately, really, the question here is, are you going, what is the tax implications? If you're laundering money, if you are a criminal, if these monies are coming from nefarious sources, then yeah, I think the crypto window for you to use this nice and willy-nilly is coming to a close. Big Brother is coming. For people at TRI, I think the biggest concern here is what is my capital gains implication? Because we actually have the audacity to consider making money from trading. And on that note, I don't think it's in any of our interests to play this tax dodging game. I think honestly, there's enough money to be made here. Just go slowly, conservatively. The tax man, there's only two things in life that are guaranteed: death and taxes, right? If you want to go Adam's route and move your business to a bona fide tax haven, then I would suggest you start looking into that in seriousness. But it doesn't surprise me that one by one, all these sort of previously, hey, we can trade and we don't have to report to anybody and stuff that, and especially in our digital world, I thought it was interesting. Stuart, even this morning in our lounge, in our little sort of TRI chat room, was posting that companies now are actually putting in two-way verification of time clocks. And he showed me this image that they're actually introducing at work for him right now. So, our lives, it's kind of sucks, for the average human being, I got a funny feeling the 21st century is not going to be a lot of fun. Am I not sharing? I thought I'm sharing the right screen.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So, get your shit together. We don't have to be tax dodgers. You can set yourself up in jurisdictions. If you're going to be a worker in the 21st century, David, life could suck big time. So my advice to you is get your shit together, build these trading plans, learn how to trade and be your own boss and not get sucked into this world. But digitalization of information makes, something like Swiss banks, Swiss bank accounts, where people used to, shelter hundreds of millions of dollars in the past. I think that's actually a bit of a dinosaur in our world that we're moving towards. So it doesn't surprise me that this kind of talk is coming. And don't be shocked if, it's going to be like a trade-off. You want to be part of the global financial system and grab a big chunk of all this crypto money that's coming in. Well, you got to play ball with Big Brother. It's just that simple, really. Oh, well, yeah, that earlier it was impassioned rants about screwing the system. Now it's impassioned rants about let's leave the system entirely and create our own world. Don't get sucked into it or you're going to be turned into a robot, guys. I hate to say it. All right. What speaking of price action, what are you looking at here this morning?
All right. So where do we start? I'll start at the daily chart. I've been kind of turning bullish in the face of this bearish market since the better part of last week, I guess. And the daily chart it's breaking down. We're putting in this market structure top, but we're just not accelerating on the downside. We're not seeing that follow through, that real dumpy action that I'd like to see, and everyone's declaring consensus of failure. People are getting super pissed off that this was a scam, and all these people that already made it in the Bitcoin sector are just trying to get richer and suck people in by having conferences like this, and that's why Vitalik.
Is that what the scuttlebutt is?
Yeah, it's incredible. If you go through Reddit, there's a lot of rhetoric about stuff like that, and people are calling people like Tom Lee and who's the other guy, or people are siding with Vitalik, and they're saying, oh, Vitalik, we understand why you boycotted the conference. It makes total sense, but who cares? We don't care about any of that crap. We're just looking at the charts themselves here. We understand that the technology itself is bullish. We understand that adoption is going to be coming. Institutions are coming into the game. Anything that happens at a conference, it's just noise. And yeah, people are getting bearish, and that's great, because the more people that turn bearish, the more you realize that the market is just going to want to upset those people and do the opposite of what it looks like it's going to do. Now, right now on the daily chart, we're testing 38.2. We've kind of poked lower each day and continued poking lower, but we're not really dumping so hard. And for me, I'm still going to be semi-bullish. And if I were to pick a downside target for this, I don't think we're going to go all the way into these areas before a bounce. Now, this orange line here is something that I've drawn previously as a previous area of support. And I believe that if we are to dump, that this 50% level is probably where we'd start to see a bottom coming in between there and now. And I'm looking at declining momentum coming in on the daily chart. I like to see kind of two nice clumps like we did on this bearish divergence that developed and pushed us lower, which was a great trade for anyone that managed to get in on that, clinking against the 200 period moving average into a reload zone. If we don't drop all the way into a reload zone on this chart, then this sets up a a bullish argument for why this can rally higher. Now I'm going to go to a 4-hour chart and show you what I'm talking about on the lower time frames, in that we are building a bullish momentum trade. Sure, this was already confirmed here, but we didn't break out in earnest. We didn't really go higher, and that's because we didn't put in a nice market structure W yet. I can't take any trades until I see this momentum come in with market structure, and we're still not doing that. And in fact, we're putting in M's and we're dumping, but this wasn't here on a bearish momentum trade, so we didn't see the kind of missiles all align and lock on target together, and this thing just kind of kept going slowly lower, but not dumping and letting the floor fall out from underneath it. Now the 4-hour is almost oversold. I like seeing that. I like that momentum is coiling. We're getting ready for a move. Now, whether that's a counter trend rally or a dump lower into that 50% level, we got to wait and see. I mean, sure, we didn't quite get confirmation here according to my candle body close theory, but it doesn't matter because there's no momentum to go along with that. So I'm hunting through the weekend for positions to start coming in. I mean, I'm still, again, I'm going to keep beating a dead horse here and talking about how I'm rah-rah turning bullish here. But until that comes in, I can't say that I'm 100% a bull. Now, if we go down to the hourly and look for any potential trades coming in, I don't see any momentum trades. And in fact, we're kind of breaking up higher here on the hourly and arguably put in a W. Well, not arguably. This is a market structure bottom on the hourly chart.
Yeah, actually, that set up a cute little tag of the 50% level there. It's a nice 2.5 to 1.
Yeah, so if you draw your reload zones just off this trade, Brian said 50%.
I go up right off because that's an hourly chart. I'd go right off that original double top all the way back up top there, which probably means, like your 200 SMA there and those wicks, right? Those wicks, they totally look like they need to be eaten.
Yeah. And, have you noticed that this weekend we keep buying into the weekend and then toward the latter part of the weekend we sell off?
Well, I definitely think the consensus crap probably really affected the market here. But you notice that I think you got a nice MACD bull div trying to come in here. And I noticed, for whatever it's worth, we were squawking about bearish bots yesterday. This one had its move stop to scratch level hit, and there is that double bottom that Thomas was just talking about. So the bears, you can see that original M that we talked about yesterday morning. They'll be told to just cool their jets if we can pop up another $75 here. Can do that in a heartbeat. But look at this bullish divergence that's trying to come in. In fact, it's pretty damn close to confirming off the RSI, my little fast RSI model here. So the bear had the window. And if anything, I think we talked a little bit about this yesterday, right? If this thing doesn't break and it doesn't dump, well, this is descending wedge, and a descending wedge technically is actually bullish. So it was really cool. I tweeted out, and I don't mean to be interrupting you. Did you finish your sentence? I totally cut you off there. I'm sorry, dude.
I guess to sum up what I'm saying is I am hunting for that turnaround that Brian's mentioning here. And the only thing that I want to finish and tie everything together is that I like to hunt patterns across time frames. And I've alluded to this before in that we saw on the 4-hour, we saw on the 1 hour, we saw on the 30-minute and the 15 over the last few weeks that any kind of bearish potential trades that were to come in with a momentum divergence, with market structure tops, with whatever indicators you may use, that bearish scenario did not verify enough to cause a serious dump, enough of a move in price for you to say, okay, you know what? That was a great trade. I really hit the cover off the ball here and tagged a reload zone really quickly, whatever it was. The bearish trades just weren't coming in over the last few weeks. Now, I said that we need to test the daily time frame for that idea to really come across and to come together and tie all this neatly into a bullish case. And now we're testing that. We're testing 38.2. We're putting in an invalidating, well, not quite invalidating, but we're just not seeing the dump that I'd like to see on a daily chart in the face of market structure, in the face of momentum divergence. And that to me is inherently a bullish sign that this 4-hour and 1 hour and whatever other lower time frames are showing the same indications now on the daily. Now, sure, this thing could dump all the way down and then all bets are off. And then we got to go back and use our roadmap from Bitstamp with the death cross and see that it's going to be a long, long dump, slow and steady, ugly turn to the downside. I don't actually have this loaded, unfortunately. But the other last thing that I want to mention are spreads. And spreads are trying to break out again here. In fact, we've got another hour here, and this would put in a nice W. So something's going to happen into the weekend. I'm leaning long. I would assume, excuse me, if you are looking to play a long into this market, look for the dump into the end of day here. I'll bring up an hourly chart. I think that trade is coming in. Any kind of dump into retesting this original breakout here at, on OKCoin looks like about 81, 84. Wait for that dump. And then if this is all in your trading plan and you can play this, I think that's your entry and you've got a nice, what does it look like? $500 maybe to play on the upside.
Okay, I think that's a good summary. Thank you, sir. I totally appreciate that. We'll probably keep posting the charts through the day. If anything, probably, why don't we, we usually talk a little Bitcoin. Then we drill down and talk a little alts. I mentioned at the top of the broadcast that our API is broken, so Stuart and I are going to have to review that. But I have been doing a bit of buying here this morning. I posted a bunch of charts in the lounge this morning of stuff that I've been buying. There's some really interesting stuff out there, like about that ABY, and I love this one because this is a nice contrarian play in that they cater to the artistic community, and you can see, I mean, when these things face rip, holy
Brian, share your screen.
Yeah, I think I am. Do I have to wait for it to catch up? All right. So here's just yet an example of something I'm in there stink bid buying, bought into, and actually, does anybody know what the story with that game credits is? I read on Trex, they kind of, did they halt trading? I'm not quite sure what they've done here. Did buy some there. The message on Trex is, we're awaiting news from game credits themselves. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Also bought into a little bit. What the hell of us have been buying? I've been buying a few names. But, and actually we did get a double off here, so I'm pretty happy about that. And I noticed that, what I love about when I get these double fills is I can almost guarantee go over to Twitter and see a whole bunch of TRI alum doing almost exactly the same trade. So it's so cool. When I saw this fill come in and I tweeted out, I saw a whole bunch of other TRIers got this fill too. So way to go, guys. But what I wanted to mention to you, actually names that I've just been nibbling on here recently, the ABY and EOS, if you do have money and you're looking for a place to put it, picked up a little bit of this off of these lows. That was a nice gap fill. And I think the VRM, I bought into a little bit of that recently. Hopefully you guys can see sort of the repeating story here. So, there are names to be nibbling away on, and I think this is an excellent segue. The last sort of 10, 15 minutes of today's presentation, I wanted to show you guys a OneSite member's work within the scripting space. And I think he's built a really awesome little script to basically highlight these names as they're turning. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he actually pointed out that his indicator told him that to start getting interested in this Lisk. Right, and I look at Lisk, and okay. I mean, if you're willing to risk against these lows, this isn't a bad area to go shopping. So, with that said, I thought, we invited him in here today. Bugra, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here, Brian.
Hey, there he is, and he's got his presentation partner, Randall. So I don't know. I know we go Bugra. I don't know if the two of them want to talk together or Randall's going to be silent, but I thought I'd just give Bugra the opportunity. Do you have a particular screen you want me to show the good people, or do you want to screen share? How do you want to do this?
I could screen share.
Okay,
right
so I've clicked on Bugra's screen. We will go present to everyone. And let's just listen to Bugra's presentation. If you are interested in his product, great, reach out to him. If not, there's no hard sell here. We're just exchanging ideas. So Bugra, you got the floor. Thank you very much, Thomas. Totally appreciate the conversation today. And let's see what's on Bugra's mind.
Okay, so for the last couple of weeks, we have been receiving a lot of inquiries to get access to our indicator. And I have been receiving a lot of questions about the indicator. So I'm just going to real quick go through the questions that has been asked to me so that everybody can get the answers by watching this video. So Randall is going to talk about the settings that he has been working on today, and I'm going to be answering the questions, and we are going to release the latest products that we have been working on, and it's going to be mind-blowing for all of us, I think. So let's get into it. So how to apply the Megalodon on TV? I've been receiving this question for like almost 10 people. So basically all you guys have to do is just go to the TradingView page for the indicator, which you can find it on our website, or I already posted it on the launch, or just PM me or Randall. And just click on Add to Favorites on the down button right here. And just go to your indicator page, click on your favorites, and then just find the IPERA, the Megalodon indicator, and it will automatically add it to your chart. So the other question is how to set alarms on the indicator. And to be able to set the alarms, I just updated the indicator. So all you have to do is just close the one that you had and re-add the indicator. And just click on the alert button, and you will come out with a condition for BTC USD, for example. Just click on there, change that to IPERA, the Megalodon. And on top of there, there's going to be set arrows. Just click on that one. It's going to be automatically recognized anyways. And then to be able to come up with the alerts for the green arrow, you need to click on the greater than. And for the red arrow, you need to click on the less than for the options. And then
that's cool. And so then TradingView will let you know when a signal is generated?
Yeah, it will. And then just change the value into 0 for green or red arrow. It doesn't matter. Just make that 0. And then, as you can see, this is for the green arrow settings on the left and the red arrow settings to the right. So, and that's basically it. And that will give you the arrows for the specific settings that you are using. And that's pretty much it for that one. And I've been receiving questions about suggested time frame. So we designed this indicator for daily time frame to get the most accurate signals, but we also look for other weekly charts and hourly charts to calculate all the indicators that we are using. So all you have to do is just look at the one-day charts to use this indicator. And so, and also I received this question: should I wait for the candle to close when an arrow was seen? Yes, wait for the candle to close with the arrow on the daily time frame, and also never chase and get your bids working and be patient. So all the most important thing about this indicator is it makes you go through all the coins out there like really easily, like under 25 minutes on Bittrex. I do it every day, and it takes like 25 minutes. And just draw your fibs and get your setups working or whatever you're using, and you can find the coins that you could start getting interested in, right? So it is a really helpful tool for anyone.
So you load the indicator into your system, then you do you like build like a list of coins, and then you just scroll through the coins with the indicator loaded, and it will whether a signal is generated?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, cool. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yep. And Randall is going to be talking about the settings that he has been working on right now, and he's going to show some charts.
Okay. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep. We are sharing Bugra's screen. Do we want to jump over to you now?
Yeah, I'll share my screen now.
All right. And so now you two are like a dynamic duo.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Okay, cool. I'll go on mute. All right, Randall, you've got the floor.
So click on. Okay. What is happening?
Let's not share that screen. You're getting a million gazillions. We want to stick on your screen. I want to share.
Okay. Can you guys see this? I'm not sure.
Yep, that's good. Yep, that's good.
All right. So me and Bo have been receiving a lot of questions about what are all these inputs here in the settings. So I'm just going to go through real quick what these are and how you use them. As you can see, these indicators that I have here, these are all some of the indicators, the main ones I would say that go into the Megalodon. So this one right here, this is our money flow index. It's a volume indicator. This right here is what we call the volatile RSI, as you can see here. This right here is this is the GOAT. So what this is looking for is these orange lines here, meant for calling bottoms. What else do we got here? And then this is the Willy that we got here. So I got Bitcoin going right here, and I'll just go through this real quick with you guys. I've got the settings figured out for this already, so I'll show you what goes into this. So we've got our Bollinger Bands here. These help us for finding sells and buys. Chili Willy, for Bitcoin, I like to set this to 28 for the buy, and 80 for the sell. What I like to do here, so this right here, these three are looking for M's and W's in the Willy. So the neutral zone is between this level and the sell level. The reload zone is anything below this number here, and this is for above this level here. So for Bitcoin, I like to set this one to 1, this to 2, and this, you can just crank this up. This helps get rid of a lot of false buys, or false sells, I'm sorry. Here, this is their volatile RSI. So what this is looking for is if you see a green here on this VRSI, that means that it is below the 200-day moving average. So it's likely to be a good buy. So that's what I have it set to there. This oversold, this is looking for anything up here. And with this, I like to use this. If you have any false buys on the chart, a lot of the time, if you set this lower, it'll actually cancel it out. So you won't get that false buy anymore. So for this one, I like to set it to 86. And then here we have our M's and W's on the GOAT, the bottom finder. And I have this set to 46 for Bitcoin. Right here, this is looking for M's and W's on Bo's. I don't have it on the screen right now, but this is a OBV, and it's doing the same thing, looking for M's and W's. For Bitcoin, I have this set to 21. Right here, this is our money flow index. So as you can see it right here, I like to set this to 31 for Bitcoin. Sells at 80 is fine, and put this down to 4. This is the look back period for the MFI. This is M's and W's on MFI. I like to have that at 1, and this is what I have it set for on the Bollinger Bands. This is the length. This is the standard deviation. So now if we look at this here, I'll show you. Green arrow, green arrow, green arrow, boom, boom, boom. calling in bottoms perfectly. You know, it's been extremely accurate. You know, I love it. I got a couple other charts I can
take your
show you.
screen and scroll back a year ago.
A year ago. Okay.
All right, just randomly out of the blue. Let's see what kind of the signals produced. Get rid of the high, right? We want to see, yeah. Oh, that's nice. Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty remarkable. You know, I've never seen anything like it.
Cool.
So it's pretty good.
I always like to just randomly pick a point in time. Don't look right now, but just, you know, a few years back, just randomly just see what kind of signals were generated. But that's cool. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Or actually I did, but I'm a dick. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So I got a couple other charts I can show you guys here. I think this one here is Ethereum Classic. This is just a screenshot, but as you can see, you know, we got some good arrows here. You know, this is, you know, 100% accurate right here. Every single one of these, you know, brought you money.
Excellent.
Let's see what else I got here.
Okay, so we're past the top of the hour. So why don't we do this, guys? You've given us the basic walkthrough. Now, let's maybe, if you guys could, let's over the next week, let's put together a list of, okay, guys, the signal was generated here, and this is what happened following. What do you think? Does that sound like a plan? Do you think we could do that?
Actually, Brian, we got one more need that we are going to answer real quick.
Okay, so
I could do that real quick if you want.
Okay, so one of you two has got to mute each other. We're getting echo here.
Yeah, I got.
Randall, if you're done with your settings presentation, Bagra, you want to grab the floor here or make you presenting to everybody?
Yeah, you guys can see it, right? Okay.
Okay, I see mind-blowing product is here.
So we are gonna just test this real quick. So we have been working on the Telegram bot, and we already set all the alarms in all the Bitcoin coins out there for the Megalodon indicator. So let's check this out real quick. Let me show you guys our Telegram channel, and you guys can see it, right? Randall, send alarm.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks good. So can you just put the Telegram invite link, or is this like part of your paid package? I don't know if you're willing.
No, anyone can join it. Yeah, I can post it.
Can you just throw that in the lounge, and we'll all just pile in and join and watch?
Yeah. You good? Okay.
Oh, there it is there. All right. And hopefully you see that I just joined.
Okay, so this is our Telegram channel right here. And anytime there's an alarm that we receive on the Megalodon indicator for a buy signal, any one of us who joins to this Telegram will be able to see what coin the Megalodon indicator is giving a buy with the specific settings that are designed specifically for that coin that we have been working on. So Randall just set an alarm just to test it real quick. And it should be here. Did you send it? Oh, okay. So let's check it out.
Okay, is somebody saying something? Did I miss something? So I've joined, I don't know whether you can see my screen. I've joined the Telegram group. There we are. I joined the channel. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we are setting the alarm right now. We just set it. We are waiting for the alarm to go off, and it will automatically post that to our Telegram bot right here.
Awesome. Do, 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 do. Hey, there it is. What do we got here?
The Megalodon isn't giving a green arrow on Bitcoin, just an example. It's not giving any green arrow right now, but this is what we got. So we already set the alarms for every single coin out there, and it will automatically post it here if you guys join it. And also, we got one more news real quick before we end this.
Yeah.
At the same time, we did this for our Twitter. So for those of you who doesn't have the Telegram or who doesn't use Telegram but use Twitter, we also post it automatically over here, as you can see out of my screen. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Can you put the Twitter address so we can join that too?
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll join that, right? All right, there it is there. And I will click. There is Bagra. And I will, am I joined? Follow. All right, I'm following you now. So now in my feed, I should get your updates as they come in. Hey, there you are. The Megalodon. There he is. Awesome. All right, so everybody can see.
I hope you guys liked it.
I have joined. Actually, I just clicked and followed. So I'm rocking and rolling here. And I would suggest all of you guys do the same thing too. Okay. And so if anything, you know, maybe Friday afternoon, we'll do sort of like site participants scripts update little window. So if you guys want to make it sort of a regular occurrence to come in on Fridays and just update the group on what's going on, I think that'd be totally awesome.
Definitely. Sounds good, Brian.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, I don't want to keep people too late. And Julian and I actually have another meeting we have to get into here. So it's about 10 minutes past the hour. Why don't we leave it at that? Thank you so much for that presentation. I will, they're actually on the site in the library, we have daily brief specials right here. So I'm going to add this session do you guys mind if I make note like Megalodon presentation or whatever here? Would you guys like that? Yes, no, maybe so. And I'll even put the links to the Twitter, the Telegram. And do you have a TradingView page link that that is all sort of in one place that we can put on there too? I don't know.
Yeah, we do. One second, let me post it.
Okay, well, just fire it in the lounge when you got a minute, and I'll put all that together for you. And take a look at what I've done here later on, and if there's anything else you want to add to it, I'll be more than happy to do that. Okay, guys?
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And guys, like honestly, my big thing here: 1 + 1 = 3. A good trade is a good trade is a good trade. I want everybody to make money here. I'm not in it to promote one person over the other. I just simply want us all to prosper together. So if you have a script, Benjamin, if you want to come on and tell us about any of your scripts, Jeremy's beautiful scripting, if you guys want to come on and tell us, and anybody else, I mean, I was really impressed with Bugra. He just jumped into this scripting shit hard. When we get our new site up and running and Sjord gets all his scripts and shit running, we'll have him come on a regular basis and tell you about all the fun tools that we have on site as well. So I think we'll leave it at that for today. Kind of a funny session today. I'm sorry, guys, if it was a little bit all over the map, but on balance, I think we do you feel like Axel, do you feel like you got any value out of today's conversation? I always like to check with Axel. He's sort of my lightning rod. What's Axel gonna say? No pressure, no pressure, no pressure. Oh, he's not even here anymore. Ah, shitty. All right. Well, anyway, wanted to also give a special shout out to Shane and Dane. Awesome presentation yesterday. Really appreciate that. And actually, I went and put together both their sheet on the blog and also all of their ideas that they talked about in their little sheet here. From the Cambridge Mining Conference. If you want to just go grab this screenshot, some of these names look really attractive down in here. There's about a good, 16, 17 names to chew on in the mining space that Shane and Dane found for us yesterday. So, all right, I think we'll leave it at that for today. Thank you so much, Thomas. Everybody's got their special assignment just to go listen to the Macro Voices presentation. It is Friday, so maybe over the weekend during broiler chickens, I'd like to have some nice feedback with the community about your impressions about that. And of course, if you have any questions specifically, Thomas has his special assignment. He's got to figure out what the hell she was talking about with that, what was it, ATR or something like that she was doing. So I can't wait to hear what Thomas has to say about that. Great participation in the lounge, everybody. And again, an additional thanks to Bugra and Randall for their presentation today. So on that note, you all have yourselves an awesome rest of your day. As we had pointed out just very briefly, now you have a nice little signaling system to give you ideas to chew on. There have been a few ideas that I'm in the market chewing on lately. And I think this is a really fascinating, exciting time for us. We've gotten the fluff of that convention out of the way. Now let's go hunt our setups and go make some money from trading. All right, guys, on that note, all the best and bye for now.